children, welcome back to the social science class. In the last class, we discussed about the history chapter public administration. Today we will continue the same chapter. In this session, we will discuss about administrative reforms. Let's learn about it. A number of steps are taken by the government for increasing the efficiency of the services and to provide service to people in a time-bound manner. They are known as administrative reforms. Its intention is to make administration people-friendly and efficient. For this, government constitutes administrative reform commissions at national and state levels. Let's familiarize with some steps taken for administrative reforms in our country. First one is e-governance. E-governance is the use of electronic technology in administration. This helped to obtain government services easily in a speedy manner. The single window system for admission to higher secondary courses, online applications for various scholarships, etc. are examples for e-governance. Let's examine the benefits of e-governance. First one, need not to wait in government offices for services. Next one, can receive service with the help of information technology. Next one, government services offered speedily and with less expense. And the last one, efficiency of the offices and quality of the service get enhanced. These facilities are now available in all government offices. The basic facilities are ensured to all through the Akshaya centers in Kerala. People can receive the services of e-governance at home with the spread of e-literacy. Next one is right to information. People can collect information from any government office about its working. People got this opportunity under the Right to Information Act 2005. The efforts of Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan of Rajasthan has led to the legislation of Right to Information Act. This act ensures the right of all citizens of India to receive information. The main objectives of this act are to prevent corruption, to create responsibility, and to make the functioning of the government transparent. The citizens will get copies of the public documents if they apply for them. Let's discuss about Information Commission. To perform the functions under the Right to Information Act, Information Commissions are constituted at the national and state levels. There will be a Chief Information Commissioner and not more than 10 members in the Information Commission. If the authorities do not give or refuse to give the information or give wrong and unsatisfactory replies, one can approach the Information Commission and can file an appeal. If the commission is convinced, a fine of Rs 250 per day can be imposed on the employees concerned till the information is given. Next one is Right to Service. Right to Service Act is a law which ensures services to the people. This law determines the time limit for every service given by the government office. If the deserved service is not given within this time limit, the responsible employee should pay a fine. As per the Right to Service Act, an officer is appointed in every government office to give guidance and proper help to the applicants. Due to the continued interventions of the civil society, the governments have also taken some other steps to make administration more efficient. Let's look at some of them. First one is Lokpal and Lokayukta. Lokpal and Lokayukta are institutions constituted to prevent corruption at administrative, bureaucratic, and political levels. The institution constituted at the national level to prevent corruption is Lokpal. Lokpal has the power to register cases on issues of corruption against employees and public workers and can suggest necessary actions. Lokayukta is the institution constituted at the state level to hear the corruption cases. Both of them follow judicial procedure. Next one is Central Vigilance Commission. The Central Vigilance Commission is the institution constituted at the national level to prevent corruption. It came to effect in 1964. It is formed to prevent corruption in the central government offices. The Central Vigilance Commissioner is the head of the Central Vigilance Commission. In every department, there will be a Chief Vigilance Officer. The duty of the Commission is to inquire into vigilance cases and take necessary actions. Based on the model of the Central Vigilance Commission, State Vigilance Commissions have been constituted at the state level. The State Vigilance Commission inquires into corruption in the state government offices. Vigilance courts are also constituted to track vigilance cases. Next one is Ombudsman. Elected representatives and bureaucrats are part of public administration. Complaints can be filed against their corruption and negligence of duties. Ombudsman is constituted for this purpose. A retired judge of High Court is appointed as the Ombudsman. People can directly approach the Ombudsman with complaints. On receiving complaints, the Ombudsman has the power to summon anyone and can order inquiry and recommend actions. Ombudsman has its beginning in banking sector to hear the complaints of clients and rectify them. Let's conclude the chapter. What we learned from this chapter? Yes, from this chapter we learned about public administration and the significance of public administration, bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy in India include All India Service, Central Service, and State Service. Then last one, administrative reforms. It includes e-governance, right to information and information commission, right to service, Central Vigilance Commission, Lokpal and Lokayukta, and Ombudsman. Hope all of you understood this chapter. If you have any doubt regarding this chapter, please inform me through class WhatsApp group. Meet again next class with new chapter. Thank you.